Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is absolutely insane. Representative Michael Cloud just said that the largest money laundering scheme in history has just been uncovered by DOGE. Listen to what he just said.
For far too long, D.C. politicians have gotten away with measuring their personal value and worth by how much of other people's money they give away. And for far too long, they self-righteously have opined that this spending was for altruistic purposes given out of care and compassion. For far too long, they've been more concerned with looking like they cared than having enough care and concern to actually do the due diligence to ensure that the tax dollars were being used wisely and effectively. And for far too long, those of us who've worked to uncover waste, fraud, and abuse have had to deal with what amounts to an unconstitutional fourth branch of permanent bureaucracy that has too often worked to ignore, obfuscate, delay, and frustrate our efforts to bring transparency and oversight. Over the last few weeks, the DOGE effort has begun to uncover not only how massive the waste, fraud, and abuse is, but also the extent at which D.C. politicians and too many obstinate bureaucrats have coordinated to create what is essentially the largest money laundering scheme in history. And while Americans have been working to make ends meet, they have been using taxpayer dollars to fund unnecessary, egregious, and even evil things here at home and around the world. Thankfully, in DOGE, we have a president bringing the leadership needed and a focused effort, along with the talent, technology, tools, and transparency to this waste, fraud, and abuse. And to those who would stand opposed to this effort, I would just point out, while it's understandable to find waste, fraud, and abuse that has grown and metastasized in this government even over decades, certainly accelerated over the last few years, to continue to protect it is corruption. I want to thank the chair for beginning this war on waste on this side of Pennsylvania Avenue and bringing together this committee. This effort is so important as we work to relieve the Americans, people of this burden of waste, fraud, and abuse. Mr. Talcove, you mentioned in your written statement and talked about it in your statement at the beginning that this waste, fraud, and abuse is a national security threat. And certainly one of the challenges facing us that is a national security threat is our fiscal situation. And so we have got to find ways to find savings to the American people in order to bring confidence to the bond markets, to put our country on a fiscal footing, and to reverse the curse, so to speak, that we are placing on our children and our grandchildren. You mentioned a couple threats, though. You mentioned internal threats. You said that these cases involve government employees, individuals entrusted with administering benefits who, instead of using their positions to approve fraudulent claims, override security controls, or even sell sensitive claimant information for profit. Now, this is not every federal employee for sure, but within the context of people who are trying to give their best effort, we have an internal threat. But you also mentioned transnational fraud rings, terrorist organizations, nation states, North Korea, nuclear weapons programs funded by our tax dollars, China, Nigeria, Iran, Romania, Russia, not our friends necessarily that are being funded by taxpayer dollars. Could you give us some examples of how this is happening?
Yeah. So when you think about what happened during the pandemic, $1 trillion was stolen. 70% of that money went overseas. And I can give you some examples. In a Western state, they had more people applying for unemployment insurance benefits than they had individuals over 18. The people that were stealing the money from Romania were using it to facilitate other fraud schemes that include fentanyl, that include doing things to impact our democracy. On the insider threat, right, the first thing you have to say, and my dad was a public servant, is 99% of people that work in the public sector are honest, hardworking individuals. But there are some, and what you need is data and technology to root that out. There were examples during the pandemic. There were some examples even of last week where people got into the Medicaid system in a Western state and stole $50 million in less than 4 months. So you have to have these controls in place, right? These aren't individuals stealing, Mr. Cloud. These are organized criminal groups, both domestic and transnational.
that, as you mentioned, taxpayers are being forced to fund the demise of our own country.
Okay, before we dive in, guys, make sure to like this video to help more people see the truth about what's really happening in Washington. Guys, I appreciate everyone for all the support, all the love. Just thank y'all so much. Okay, let's talk about this. Representative Michael Cloud, he's a Republican from Texas, just dropped a bombshell in the House Oversight Committee. He exposed massive fraud, waste, abuse in government spending. He calls out D.C. politicians and bureaucrats who have been more focused on, he said, looking like they care than actually ensuring that taxpayer dollars are used responsibly. For too long, guys, government spending has gone unchecked. But the DOGE effort is now exposing the depths of this corruption. Think about that. Think about this. 1 trillion. Okay, think about that number for a second. $1 trillion vanished during the pandemic. Most of it didn't even stay in the United States. Your hard-earned tax dollars were funneled into fraudulent schemes, some of which helped fund foreign adversaries like China, Iran, Russia. Guys, these aren't just individual bad actors. This is an organized crime at a global level involving transnational fraud rings, terrorist organizations. Guys, if we are struggling with inflation and national debt, why is our government allowing our money to fund our enemies? Makes no sense. Cloud makes a powerful point in this video. If you're not working to stop fraud, you're protecting it. Did y'all catch when he said that? I thought when he said that, I was like, wow, that is powerful. Many bureaucrats are actively blocking oversight efforts, delaying investigations, keeping Americans in the dark. I got to ask, what are they hiding? Why do we have a permanent class of unelected officials who seem to have more power than the elective representatives? God, the fraud is so massive that it's impacting our national security, funding cybercrime, drug trafficking, even nuclear weapons programs. Americans are being forced to bankroll their own destruction. Think about that for a second, guys. If our government can't stop this fraud, it's because they don't want to. Is it? What do you think? What could be done? The war on waste needs real leadership, and it needs accountability. Not just political theater. We've got to get past political theater, guys. Cloud highlights that technology and data can help root out corruption, but is Washington even interested in fixing the problem? We've got to 100% get behind DOGE, get behind Trump. We got to get this fixed, because if we don't demand action, how much worse is this going to get? All right, guys, your voice matters. I want to hear from you. What do you think about these revelations? Do you trust DC? Do you trust DOGE? Do you trust Elon Musk? Do you trust Donald Trump? Or is this just all part of the swamp? I think that I'm on Team Trump, guys. I'm on Team Elon. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. And guys, if you want to support this channel, help spread the truth, consider becoming a channel member today, guys. Every little bit helps in the fight against media bias and corruption. And I just want to say to everybody, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for supporting the cause. Thank you for supporting truth. Let's root out the waste. Let's root out the fraud. Let's figure this out. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be back later with another update. Make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you then.